Hey, this is Chuck, and you are listening to Fans with Bands, the podcast where we talk to the fans and the bands they dig about life, music, and whatever the hell else we want to talk about. Today on Fans with Bands, we're talking to Pulphonics. Check it out. There we go. Hey, this is Chuck with Fans with Bands, and I'm talking to Stu from Pulphonics. Stu, how are you doing?
Doing good, Chuck.
Excellent. Fantastic. Hey, I want to thank you for reaching out and tuning me into your band, Pulphonics. Checked out the music and the singles that you guys had, and I gotta say, it's sort of like you guys are like all over the map as far as musical styles, which I think is cool. It's fun. But the first question I wanted to ask you is like, how did you come up with the name Pulphonics?
um, that was my brainchild. We struggled with a name for a long time. When we started as kind of a jam band that we weren't taking seriously, we were the Sundowners, and then we shifted to Deep in the Mitten, referencing the Chili Peppers song. Um, but at the time, there was three of us in the band, and uh, all of us had very different influences.
Yeah.
Um, so we needed a name that was going to reflect the crazy level of influences that we had all over the place. Um, and I got literal with it and went to pulp, which is, a mix of
Yeah.
different things, and then phonics, which is sounds.
Nice. Awesome. It does a good
I was
job of
actually surprised it hadn't been taken.
I know it's a cool name, and it does a good way of it's a good way of describing your music. Because when I was listening to it, I heard like some elements of hard rock, some metal, ska. There's kind of like you said that bluesy, well, more psychedelic
Yeah.
jam rock, going on. Again, all over the map. And I was sort of wondering, like, from a songwriting perspective, how do you like, you go from and I'm blanking out on the name. It's Blue. Geez, is it? What was that one tune? Blue.
Blue Statin.
Yeah, Blue Satin, which is
Yeah.
kind of a cool mellow jam.
hmm
And then there's other ones that are harder, and there's another one that has this definitely a ska influence. Um, so I was curious, how do you guys come up with the tunes? What's the songwriting process like? Is it somebody comes in with an idea and you guys run with it, or throw this
Yeah.
stuff together?
Um, for us, it was, we called it the Pulphonics blender. Um, for those singles, and most of those singles are on this album that's coming out in April. But the either me or Dustin, sometimes Sean, would bring an idea to the table for a song, and then it would go into the blender, and we would all kind of pick at it. And like the song "8 Track" is a great example. The Dustin originally wrote that to be a very much like early 2000s sounding alt rock song,
Yeah.
and we were just like, it's not a bad song by any means, but it just needs more. It needs something else. So we ended up kind of slowing it down a little bit and throwing in kind of that little bit of like that chill hop
Yeah.
California vibe to it.
Yeah.
And we were like, okay, this feels really good, and it's the same song,
Right.
just redone. And that's kind of what it was with all of them. Like there's like no song on any of the on this project is like this is Stu's masterpiece. It's just purely out of my head.
Right.
It might have started as my idea, but it got shifted and twisted and mangled by the Pulphonics blender, as
Well,
everybody took their own interpretations of the of parts and added parts and
yeah.
whatnot. So
So now does the blender take place like when you guys are together, or are you tossing ideas across the internet to each other and then getting it together? How are you working that out?
I would say probably 90% of it was when we were together.
Cool.
We'd
Yeah.
start jamming on something, here's a chord progression, here's kind of the tempo that I'm thinking. Um, and then we'd start playing it and like, this doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like this now. Let's do this to it.
Yeah.
Let's add this to it.
Yeah.
Let's take that part out. Um,
That sounds awesome. Sounds like a
mhm,
good way to do it, really. Just to have
yeah.
fun and mess around with that stuff and throw in all the different influences together. So
Hmm.
you mentioned you've got a record coming out, and I believe it's April 7th.
Yes.
And think it was called Art is Money.
Art is money.
All right, awesome. And so that's going to be a full length. What
Yep.
are you doing? How many songs are you planning?
There's 11 tracks on it. Um, the most of the singles are on it that we have out. Um, and then some tracks that we um haven't released yet, obviously.
Yeah, cool.
Um, and yeah, it was yeah, no, the whole album was like nothing how we planned.
So did you guys do it on your own as far as recording? Did you go to a studio? How did it work?
For that project, all but a few of the tracks, we went to Cold War Studios.
Okay, where's that at?
That's in Grand Rapids. It's Rick Johnson of Mustard Plug
Oh yeah.
owns it and he runs
Okay.
it, and he mixed and mastered a lot of the tracks.
Excellent. Very cool.
Uh, he's a super cool guy. You get a chance to work with him.
Nice. Yeah, I know Nate, who's the drummer for Mustard
Okay.
Plug and Bonehawk, actually. Uh, but so for this album, you mentioned a bunch of the singles are going to be on there and some new
Hmm.
music. Is it?
Yeah.
What do you feel like? Because you do have such an eclectic mix of songs. What are the unreleased tunes like? Are they still in the general vein, or do you guys go off in the left field with some of them?
They're even farther into left field. Um, so two of the tracks that are on it, um, we made they're from a movie score. We did a movie score for an independent film on YouTube. Um, it was a really, really cheesy, campy indie horror film called Hellfire Hades Attacks the 1980s.
Yeah, I checked it out.
Um, and um, we had a lot of fun making the music for that and then seeing how it all fit in. Um, and shameless plug, if anybody has a movie that they want music for, we absolutely thrilled to do more projects like that.
Yeah.
Um, but there's two variations of the theme song um, that we put into the album from that. Um, and we're actually at some point when we get around to it, we're gonna finish kind of a final touch up of some of those tracks and put that out as another release. Probably won't hype it as big as this one, but
Cool.
so um, and then one of the other tracks that is going to be on it that's not released is called Hellcat. Um, it started as a track that was kind of a riff rock, kind of in that same vein as City of Convicts and Dead in the Ground. Um, and the we had wanted to do more music than what we did for this album, and there was a lot of restraints on time and
Yeah.
whatnot. So we were like, let's put it out as it is and not like just sit on a finished product for this long. Um, but we had finished Hellcat and we were just kind of like kind of bored with it. Like it needs something more. Um, so we ended up putting in vocoder and some synth.
Nice. Nice.
So um, and that's a really that was a fun track. And it was one that like I probably wrote the song close to a year ago. It just the way things work took forever to get
Yeah.
to this point, and then enough time had passed that I kind of was like, we able to look at it from kind of the outside looking in and say like, yeah, we need to do more to this. Like let's take this back to the drawing board
Yeah.
and mess it up.
Yeah. It makes sense. Sometimes when you're feeling like that tune just quite isn't quite there, just kind of put it aside and come back to it at some
Hmm.
point. And then, you may find it doesn't work at all and scrap it, or you come back like you did and find something that works. And it's like, oh yeah, we can retune it this way. So you mentioned the synths. Um, I think that was. Did you use some of that in the theme music that you had on the?
Yes.
Yeah, I
Yes.
thought so. Because I remember thinking a little bit of like a John Carpenter themes, with the.
Yeah.
was it
Um,
was that going through your mind at all? I was just curious.
Actually, yeah, I listened to, um, I don't remember which soundtrack it was. I know Halloween was one of the tracks that I listened to the Halloween soundtrack, but the soundtrack for The Shining
Oh yeah,
was actually probably what I took the most from,
cool.
in putting in some of that together. And uh, but honestly, a lot of that was like we listened to some different tracks and different horror movie scores. Um, but honestly, just kind of smoked some weed and watched the scenes without music and just did what we thought felt best.
Awesome, awesome. So no direction from the maker of the film. They just said we just need some music, or give you some basic guidelines. Like I'd like it to sound X.
Originally, all he asked for was a theme,
Oh,
like
all
an
right.
opening credits theme,
Yeah.
and we did that without knowing anything about the movie other than it was a campy horror.
Uh huh.
And he loved it and came back and then asked if we would want to score the whole movie. We did not get a ton of time to do it either. We probably had like 6 weeks.
Oh, geez.
Um, but it worked out and got a lot of like unexpected positive feedback from it too.
That's cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was really fun.
Yeah.
Love to do that
Yeah. Sounds.
again. I
Yeah.
love the horror genre too. So
Oh, there you go. Yeah, it would be fun. So, I was going to ask you out of the album that's coming out on April 7th. What's your favorite track and why?
hmm. um, probably because it's the last one we worked on. I do really like Hellcat, and um, we have more music banks that we've been working on since this album was put together. And Hellcat probably represents more of the direction
Okay.
that we're going in.
Okay.
And I feel like Hellcat kind of was the best, like on this project, it was kind of the best in like thing to represent our sound.
Uh huh.
Um, and the directions that we're kind of going in. Um, but I don't know, I really love that one, but I really like Featherless.
Yeah,
Um,
I thought that tune was great.
um, Dead in the Ground was a really good one too. Um, I also love Blurred Days. But Blurred Days might just be fun to me just because we get to go absolutely nuts in the end if we do it on stage.
Yeah, that's cool.
Is it's kind of a snowflake song. If you see it live, you're never going to see the same thing again.
Awesome. So speaking of live, are you guys planning to do any type of like shows to promote the album?
It's a good question. So at the moment, we're just a duo. Um, Dustin, the bass player originally, had to move to Chicago
Oh,
and tried to make the distance work. It didn't work out as well as we thought it would.
yeah.
Um, so right now it's just the two of us, Sean and I. Um, and a, a lot of the music on this project like could be done as a duo thing. Um, but it's hard because we also care about like we want the full sound. We want
Yeah.
people to hear the
Yeah.
things as written.
Yeah.
So at the moment we're not planning much live stuff, but hopefully this summer or so we'll start looking into stuff more and kind of get our act together to
Yeah.
do that. Whether it means we have pre-recorded tracks that we play, to supply the instruments that we can't physically play,
Yeah.
or we find another player to join us. But honestly, lately we've just been having a lot of fun just writing.
Awesome. That's one of the, great things about being in music. You can just get together and create. So it's cool.
Hmm.
Yeah. Awesome. So speaking of music, what got you into music? Was there a particular person, band, album, something that inspired you to want to play?
For me personally, as a kid, I was always fascinated with the guitar. Um, when I was younger, my parents didn't have the money to get me one or to get me lessons to actually learn it. My dad made me he made me a guitar with rubber bands and a toilet seat and a 2x4. Um, and I think I played it till I broke all the rubber bands. Um, but I got my first guitar in 8th grade, and I had lessons for a couple months. And I just always thought it was the coolest thing, just the range of sounds you can do, just the cool factor of being on
Yeah.
a stage. And I don't remember what I liked at the time, but it wasn't until I was in high school that I really discovered Hendrix.
Ah, cool.
And Hendrix was what really pushed me to learn and to challenge myself. I probably had my first guitar for a little over a year, and I had actually it's on my shelf over here somewhere. But I have a book of Hendrix's music transposed from live recordings.
Oh, cool.
Um, and uh, it's not like the studio track, so I really had to read it and actually learn it. And um, like the track Foxy Lady, he
Yeah.
uses his thumb on the bass notes,
Yeah.
and then yeah, and that's absolutely not how you're taught to play the guitar.
Yeah.
So I remember sitting for like a month trying to learn how to play that song from the way he plays it in this book, and I was like, how is he doing this?
Yeah.
How is
Yeah.
he barring this and hitting this?
Yeah.
And then I watched a recording, and I was like, oh, it's because he's cheating and using his thumb. Um,
Oh,
but but that really, like, for me, like, I was like, oh, like, there's like, he's one of the greatest in the world,
yeah.
and he played that instrument entirely wrong, not how it was built to be played. So for me, it really kind of expanded. Like, there's a lot more I can do with this thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It does kind of open doors when you see players like him or, you know, uh, you look at like Marty Friedman when the
Hmm.
way he holds his pick, it's like pretty unconventional. I mean, he picks like you would expect a fast picker to pick like him, but yeah, but watching Hendrix or Stevie Ray Vaughan too, which
Hmm.
obviously totally inspired by Hendrix. But yeah, it's kind of cool the way you can watch a player like that and see like, oh yeah, you. I mean, it helps to know some of the rules, but then you can just kind of go outside and like, if you can make the sounds you want with the instrument, go for it.
Hmm.
So, is there anybody else that was influential besides Hendrix?
Oh, it's all over the map, as you can tell from our sound. Stevie was definitely a big influence. Van Halen, there's a lot of metal from Metallica to Pantera and Avenged Sevenfold to I mean, I love Green Day and some of the punk artists of the mid 2000s. I like even some country music, like Brad Paisley is a phenomenal guitarist to listen
Yeah,
to.
yeah,
Um, even I even got into listening to Les Paul and Chet Atkins. Like,
oh yeah, yeah.
um, pretty much if it has good vocals and you know good guitar, then
You're on
I'm probably gonna enjoy it.
it.
I
Awesome, awesome. Well, one
feel
of
like
the
there's somebody I'm leaving out
oh
though. Oh, Vi.
Steve Vai, yeah,
Yeah,
that guy. Jeez, Louise, he's
yeah.
yeah, he's amazing. And I saw him once, actually when he was with David Lee Roth, and it's
Oh,
just incredible. That guy. Well, and then Billy Sheehan's in that was in that band too. That's another dude. It's like he's playing like a bass guitar like a lead guitarist, you know. It's
Hmm.
amazing. Yeah. Amazing.
Hmm.
So one of the
Oh,
oh, go ahead.
Joe Walsh. Sorry, Joe
Oh
Walsh.
yeah, Joe Walsh. Yeah. Now see he's another guy that does some of those shortcuts and stuff. You know, more like a blues player does, you know, where
Hmm.
we're kind of improvising, doing like partial chords and stuff like that. Yeah, that guy. He's awesome.
I got to see him live um, on his own, and just like, and at that point, I'd been playing. I mean, this was only a few years ago, so I've been
Uh-huh.
playing for close to 2 decades now, and I was like, how does he make that look so easy?
I know.
Um, like, and he was doing this on Turn to Stone with really wild, huge, echoing solos, and like just watching him, like, and he's happy. You can see he's happy, smiling while he's doing it, but it's just like
Yeah.
another day to him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was just like, wow, how? Like
I know.
some god tier level of playing.
Yeah. It's pretty cool to watch speaking of Joe Walsh that there's like a Eagles documentary
Yes.
and when he joined the Eagles and just some of that old footage of him playing, you know, with Don Felder. It's like holy crap, those guys, man. And you know, they were doing a shit ton of drugs too.
Yeah. I that the Hotel California lineup of that band was amazing. I wish they would have gotten along.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
Well, one of the questions I like to ask folks, kind of going back into your origin story, is what was the very first album you bought?
um the so the first one I ever owned was one my parents got me. And it was called Party of the Millennium, and it was a whole bunch of like golden oldies tracks. It had Rockin' Robin and Tequila and
Awesome.
um
Maybe some
Wipeout was on it.
Wipeout, Green Onion, maybe.
A couple other ones. But the first one that I actually bought, well, I guess I'm gonna cheat. I'm not gonna say bought, burned. Um, I came from a very conservative household, so I was only supposed to listen to Christian rock and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but one of my nefarious friends at the time introduced me to Linkin Park. So the first CD that I got on my own was Hybrid Theories from Linkin Park,
Awesome.
and that was from somebody that was only supposed to listen to oldies and classic rock and some blues rock. Linkin Park blew my mind.
I was gonna say that's quite a shift.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty uh anger driven music, you know, with a lot of force and power. It was pretty wild when that first came out. That there was um you know, quite a big upswelling of folks that really got into that band.
Hmm. That's still a wild album to go listen to. It's got everything in it.
Yeah, yeah, hell yeah. So on firsts, how about your first concert? What was the first concert you went to see?
Um, the first concert that I ever saw was a Christian pop band called Jake.
Nice.
I won tickets for to see them on the radio when I was in like fifth or sixth grade. And
Excellent.
my parents didn't know what I was doing. I knew they were going to do the contest, and I went and um, called the radio station on a landline and managed to be lucky number whatever. Um,
Awesome. Where was that?
it was at some church.
All right.
um, but
Excellent.
the
But in
first,
Lansing area?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
it might have been Mount Hope or something like that.
Okay.
But the first, I would say, the first like real concert in like that I went to in Van Andel was actually it was Josh Groban.
Oh wow, awesome. That dude.
Um,
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's very cool.
Mhm.
What's the best concert you've been to? And I know that probably
Um,
changes with time, but
it does. So I've seen Metallica 3 times, and I got to see them at Comerica Park when
nice.
they were opening up the Hardwired tour.
Yeah.
So 2017, I think. And I don't know if you remember, but um, that concert, um, the Comerica Park told them they are not allowed back again because the mosh pit destroyed the outfield. They had to import in a rush new grass because like they had a game being held there in like 3 days. And
I forgot that.
yeah,
Oh man.
and I went with my brothers, and that was like I had been to some metal shows and some hard rock shows before, and I'd been in some mosh pits and been in the front and like that.
Yeah.
None of it compared to that show. We got there early, like we all wore cargo shorts filled with water bottles and stuff because we knew we were in for a
Right.
long day. And we got there hours before the show started, and as soon as it opened, we bolted to the front, and we managed to get like on the rail,
Oh man.
holding on for dear life.
Right.
Um,
Oh
but
man.
right up, like right off to I think the right of the center stage.
Awesome. Holy crap.
So that was awesome, and it was an awesome show. Because it was Volbeat and Avenged Sevenfold open for them too.
Oh wow. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so that's still definitely a like highlight concert for me.
Very cool. Very cool. So now what inspires you today to keep creating music? What are your I guess what are the things that inspire you to want to make music and create?
Um, it's a good question because it's not one thing usually. So lately for me, music has just been well, not just been, but it's been a big outlet. So um, I just even if Sean and I don't have an idea to work on,
Yeah.
just going in and just that catharsis of just pushing something out, even if it sucks.
Yeah.
It's yeah, it just like I will feel good for weeks after I've had a day of just music.
Nice.
Um, but a lot of it too, like there's um it's kind of an obsession. I have a friend that likes to make fun of me and call me a shoegazer because I love my effects.
Yeah.
And I have a problem. I don't stop buying them either. But
The search for
but,
tone.
yeah. Um, but I love just kind of expanding and seeing what else the guitar can do. So there's kind of like a challenge aspect to it for me too. But the other thing is I'll hear things, and I listen to music a lot while I work, and really at any given point there's probably music that I'm playing somewhere.
Uh-huh.
And just getting into new things and like okay, like and then wanting to then take my favorite aspects of whatever I just heard back to do something new with.
Awesome. Do you ever get inspired by you mentioned like doing that it was fun to do that film soundtrack. Do you ever get inspired by film or books or anything like that to drive musical ideas?
I wouldn't say as much books, but yeah, definitely. There's definitely films out there. I say one of my favorite film soundtracks is one called It Follows.
Okay, I don't think I know it.
Um, is a horror movie, probably about 4 or 5 years old now.
Okay.
I don't remember who did the soundtrack, but it's the creepiest music I've ever heard. Um, it's one of those ones where if you took the music out of the movie, I don't know how well the movie would have held up.
Oh wow.
Um, so sometimes I pull from movies and stuff. Actually, video games too.
Oh, I was gonna say yeah, video games. And sometimes there's
Um,
been like really cool like artists that have recorded things and put them in video games, which is I think is kind
mhm.
of fun.
Which
Um,
and that's actually an aspiration of Sean's. If we get a chance to do a video game score,
yeah, that would be
Sean will die
really
a
cool.
happy man.
Awesome. We'll have to make that happen. We'll have to find out who's making video games and
Hopefully.
get him in
Yeah,
touch with you guys.
I gotta figure out how to get into the indie game scene.
Yeah, yeah. There's got to be a way. Got to be a way.
I'm sure there's a Reddit thread somewhere or something.
Yeah, for sure. Or some Twitch board somewhere or Discord.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, yeah, for sure. So, if you could uh, sit down with and have a beverage of your choice with somebody either alive or dead, who would that be, and what would you like to talk to them about?
Mm. Oh, that's a hard one. Um, there's so many names that come up.
I know.
Um, I'm gonna put the parameter on and say it's gonna be music related.
Okay.
Um, oh, I actually right now, oh, I can't remember his actual name. There's an indie artist that goes by the name Tobacco.
Okay.
Um, he also um, was in Black Moth Super Rainbow. Um, but he does it's he's got a consistent sound, but it
Uh-huh.
doesn't fit neatly into any genre.
Okay.
And his songwriting is incredibly like oblique at times, and it can be jarring, but still somehow like meditative at times.
Yeah.
Like he's just a very interesting songwriter and um, kind of a reserved individual. So sitting down with him to talk about songwriting,
Okay.
I think would be a cool thing.
Kind of pick his brain and see where he
Pick
goes
his
for that.
brain, play with the synthesizers, stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's half of it. Sometimes you just like to sit down with somebody so you could get like, how did you do that? Or, what are you thinking when you were coming up with this tune? I think that would be
Hmm.
awesome. Like, especially, somebody like Hendrix or somebody would just be, dude, how did you, where did that come from? Although I know I've listened to there's this great podcast called shit. Now I'm blanking out. Oh, a history of rock and roll in 500 songs,
Hmm.
and he mentioned that like Hendrix, had just been playing on the Chitlin circuit in the South, just as a session guitar player, touring with all these other people. I think he even played with James Brown at some point. Um, but yeah, that's how he got his chops. Is just like playing day in and day out and day in and day out. Uh,
Hmm.
yeah, but it'd be cool to talk to him about like what that was like, and then going to England and all that kind of crap. I think it would be fun to see how that impacted him, and especially it would have been really cool to sit in with him and Billy Gibbons because I think they hung out and toured for a little bit. That would be
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. So
If I could ask, if I could get Hendrix to answer one question, I would want to know what went through his head when he wrote Little.
yeah,
Just like because it's such a gorgeous like masterpiece of a song,
yeah,
but like where did that idea even come from? Because it feels like it's so many things in one thing.
yeah.
I just yeah,
Yeah,
I would love to learn like just how he thought of the things that he thought of.
yeah, yeah. And put those, yeah, to put that together, like you said, it's such a beautiful song. And to be able to put
Hmm.
that together, and just like, wow, what the hell? Yeah, it would be cool to find out.
Hmm.
So now, when you guys go on tour, if you could go on tour anywhere in the world, um, where would you guys like to? What's a venue or a particular place or country you'd like to go to, and who would you like to go on tour with?
Ooh, ooh. Um, Going on tour with is a good question. I don't. I would love to go with tobacco or somebody that does some kind of like something that's kind of in like somewhere between the rock and the electronic music.
Yeah.
Like something like that would be cool. Um, we kind of toured and we played a lot of shows with a lot of hard rock and metal bands, and like we definitely have some songs that kick it, but we're not a hard rock
Yeah.
or metal band.
Yeah.
Because then then Blue Satin or one of those ones comes into the mix and the drops down.
Right.
Um, Actually, Jack White would be a good one
Oh yeah.
because
'Cause-
I'd say he fits better into a genre than we do, but he still is very much all over the place with his sound.
yeah.
Um, I would I can't speak for Sean, but I'd love to do a show in Japan.
Awesome. Yeah. Seems like that
Um,
would be cool.
I
Any
got to go to Japan before the pandemic,
really?
and
Wow.
yeah, my brother was in the Navy and was visiting him, and then for a week we went and were tourists and ventured
Uh,
around. And
Awesome. Where'd you go?
I am horrible at pronouncing the names. Um, uh,
I'm gonna guess
because there's
Tokyo, right?
yeah, we did do Tokyo, and there was like three other cities that all started with Y and were like 12 or 13 letters. I The one we spent the most time in though was where the military base was.
Okay.
There's a Navy base.
It's not
I should remember.
oh
I
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I can't think of it either. But I know what I think I know what you're talking about. Um the it, Jap for the longest time I hadn't had any real desire to go to Japan. I don't know why. Um but we just watched this show. It was called the Reluctant Traveler. It's with
Hmm.
Eugene Levy, the actor
Oh
from
yeah.
American Pie. Um, and he's like he doesn't really want to travel, but he's doing a TV show about traveling. But anyway, so he goes to Tokyo, and it looked wild. It was just like holy crap! I can't imagine being there. All those people, like I think there's 25 million people live in that city. Um, yeah,
But
amazing.
the way they do things just felt more efficient. And like for as many people as there were,
Yeah.
it was not a dirty city. I remember we were walking to go get breakfast early in the morning before a lot of the traffic had started up and everything else, and I was like, did they power wash the streets and sidewalks before we got up or something? Like, how does it look this nice? Like, it makes some of our big cities just look like dumps. Like,
Yeah,
it just yeah, they take really good care of what they have over there, and it's just I don't the just a and the people were so nice.
that's cool. Awesome.
Um,
Did
it
you
went
learn
into a
any
tobacco.
Japanese?
I learned. I'm not going to say it because I'll butcher all of it, and it's with a horrible Michigan accent. But I was able to say hello, goodbye, please. I learned like the AM and P, like morning and
Oh yeah,
evening, um, and a couple other words, and chuhai.
Chuhai. All right.
Chuhai is um, it's a it's an alcoholic beverage. It's a I think it's the base is so high or something like that. Too high, something like
All
that.
right.
But it's a rice vodka essentially, and then they just
Oh,
mix juice into it.
oh, cool.
And it was in vending machines, and but you just buy the can for like I don't know, $1.50, $2.
Nice.
Got a can of like pineapple flavored vodka drink,
Excellent.
and I got plastered on that stuff. I took a suitcase of it home.
You get a little too high. You get a little too high on too high. Right?
Hmm.
Awesome.
I can't remember what it was called, but I also had there's a whiskey that's made over there, and it's a some sort of a viper or a snake that's I guess indigenous to Japan,
Okay.
but they raise them exclusively to put into these bottles of whiskey, so you have the venom in the
Snake
whiskey.
venom? Really? Holy
Yeah,
crap. Wow.
uh,
That's kind of wild. So,
it was a really weird weird drunk.
Yeah. Wow. That seems, yeah. I don't know if I'd be into that. But they eat puff,
I'd say it's worth trying. I mean, I'm still
I
here,
suppose.
but that night is fuzzy.
Yeah. Awesome. That's fantastic. um, so if you could go um like anywhere in the United States, where would that be?
We're in the U.S.
Yeah. To play a gig.
Um, I mean, if I'm picking a place to do a gig, I'm going to go somewhere big. So it's going to be Madison Square Garden or
Nice.
something, something big like that, or doing a Super Bowl show would be so much fun.
Yeah, can you
If
imagine?
you
That'd be
have, I mean, because I'm assuming like sky is the limit with like the budgets for those shows and
yeah.
you know taking all the right songs to make a medley and whatnot. Um, so yeah, if I could choose anything, I'd choose a Super Bowl.
Excellent.
So the,
So
the location doesn't matter, I guess, as much to me.
that's right. Well, yeah, and the Super Bowl does move around a little bit, so there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be cool. And it'd be somewhere warm in the winter. So
Mhm.
yeah, awesome. So now when you're just looking to like sit back and relax, is there particular albums like your go-to? That's it's the thing that you grab most of the time, or a song.
It it really depends on when you catch me. Um, but some of my if I'm just picking whole albums that I can listen to, um, absolutely love Electric Ladyland.
Nice.
Um, still love Hybrid Theory by Linkin Park. Hotel California is a great one. Um, shoot, what's the title of the album? Um, Summer Side of Life by Gordon Lightfoot.
Oh wow, cool.
Um, he like people don't expect me to know Gordon, but I love. Um, he's just a like I don't always get into the sound that he makes, but his songwriting is just
Yeah, yeah.
it's just a consistently quality product. Um, um, like I love Ride the Lightning by Metallica. Um,
So sort of like
I'm
the songwriting, it's a little bit all over. It depends, like you
yeah.
said, depends on the day.
Well, it's like the last week I've been listening to a lot of electronic music.
Oh, cool,
So
awesome.
it just yeah,
Like
really just depends on my mood.
yeah, totally synth music.
Not necessarily. Some of it
Okay,
is.
okay.
Um, like I can't remember. There's a I recently discovered dark synthwave.
Oh yeah,
Um, had no idea that was a thing, and now I can't get enough of it.
yeah.
So probably for the next few weeks, I'm just going to absorb dark synth until I crave something different.
There's actually a band out your way. I don't know if they're in. I think they're in Grand Rapids. They're a pop synth band, kind of like '80s synth. Um, and why can't I remember their name? Uh, they got a really cool logo on there. Oh my gosh, I'll have to find it and send it to you after because I can't think of their name. But there is a band in Ipsy that does really cool kind of. I don't know if it would be technically considered dark wave synth, um, but they're called END, um, End
END?
END, yeah, and they do some. I saw them. Was it last year? I think at Fuzz Fest, and they blew me away. I was like, "What in the hell is going on here?" Just two guys. The one dude. I think they both actually build their own rigs. He builds his own effects pedals. He plays a guitar for part of that. That he's got modded out and then running it through all kind. When you talk to them, you can go down a rabbit hole talking to those dudes about like how they got all this stuff set up, which you might find enjoyable because I know you
I,
said you like
I
to
I
play with the
would.
effects.
There's the the number of people that I can talk to about gear, just as I get older, just like that number just gets smaller and smaller and smaller.
you could
Um,
you could definitely hit those dudes up. It's
yeah, that actually
Ed and
sounds.
Damon. Yeah. So,
Yeah, I'm gonna END. I'm gonna look them up now because that sounds up my alley.
yeah, and they do these really
Uh,
cool. They've got these like kind of plexi covers on there because they have like a portable. They got to the point where they were like, we can't rely on the club's sound systems. They can basically run their whole show totally modular and carry it to the show. But they put like a projector on, and then they're playing these crazy videos and like different video imagery. And every show, they're not doing the same thing. They're doing like they're just going off of how they feel like the sound should go. So it's never the same. It's very cool. So man,
See, that's the kind of stuff that I really get into. It's just when there's like when I mean, because like there's still something that's great and fun about going to a show that has a predetermined set list and they
yeah,
really don't deviate from it, like
yep,
just to hear what it sounds like. But like Mars Volta used to do that too, not in the electronic vein, obviously, but like just the you don't know what you're getting when you show up to their show,
right.
and I love that. Like that's what would compel me to come back again to see the same band is that
Yeah.
yeah.
And I just remembered the band in Grand Rapids, Von Kaiser, um, from there's a video game. I think it's
That
Tyson's Punch
sounds.
Out. I think. Uh,
I have to look them up. I haven't interacted with them, but that sounds really familiar.
yeah, theirs is more, whereas N's more in the dark area. They're in the poppy like '80s sound, which almost new wave-ish, but it's still cool.
The '80s sounds kind of making a comeback.
It is, yeah. There's quite a few bands that have like kind of embraced that, which is fun. Although
Hmm.
it's sometimes I think of like, oh man, it was kind of a dark time for me because I was a kid into metal, and when you're listening to new wave, you're like, oh, what is this? It took me a while. It took me a while to appreciate it. Like later in my life, I was like, oh, I get this. I like it now. But
So if you were a metalhead in the '80s, what kind of Metallica fan are you?
oh, like old school, like when they did the Metal for Nations. Like I have that album where they had it was pre Kill 'Em All. Like
Mhm.
they had the little
Okay.
soundtrack, and then I bought Kill 'Em All. Actually, a friend. So I was in college, and he brought over. He goes here. I was listening at the time to like Ozzy and Sabbath and Iron Maiden, and he was like, "Here, you need to check this." Well, two things out. He gave me Ride the Lightning, or not Ride the Lightning, Kill 'Em All, and he gave me Angel Witch, um,
Oh,
and oh yeah, Angel Witch still blows me away to this day. They were like just holy crap. But yeah, it was. And then I, got into Ride the Lightning. I saw him open up for Ozzy during Master of Puppets, and so it was
that's
yeah,
cool.
yeah, it was awesome. I kind
Are
of
you
fell
one
off
of
the
the fans?
wagon after the Black Album. I
Yeah,
stopped
that's what I was going to
following them as
ask.
much. Yeah, because they,
So,
kind of changed their sound, which was not. I was getting heavier, and they were, going in a different direction, which is totally fine, but it just wasn't for me.
well, for me, they're one of those ones. It's not about the time of them. It's just they have good albums and they have bad albums.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
And unfortunately, most of those bad albums happen post Black Album. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, some of it I'm just not even familiar with. I can't even like tell you like the last. I mean, I don't even remember what the last album was. Um, I still, love Metallica, but it's all the old school stuff that I still listen
yeah,
to and love.
well, there's nothing wrong with that. The old stuff is phenomenal.
Yeah,
Ride the Lightning is my favorite album of
yeah.
theirs.
I mean, I still love metal today, and I'm still like obsessed with like newer bands that are coming out. Um, but it's all builds off of that past. Those very first thrash albums are the same thrash that people are playing today. They may be playing it like 20% faster, or a little bit more violence. Like Enforcer, or Enforced, or what's the other one? They got really big, and their singer passed away. Shoot. Anyway, they sound like old Metallica to me,
Mm,
or Exodus, or something like that.
yeah.
So, and there's some of those bands are still, well, obviously Metallica's still going around. Death Angel, I love them. They're still happening. Exodus, Testament, so yeah, still metal is still strong. Well,
Well, I feel like that genre is having to innovate a lot too. They're
yeah,
having to feel like there's kind of a dry spell where it was a lot of the same for a minute.
yeah. Well,
I feel like it's
yeah,
starting to do more things.
yeah, and there's only just, I mean, infinite possibilities as far as songwriting and coming up with a really cool riff that builds into a memorable song in that genre. But there is just like a finite set unless you're going to go off into other stuff, right? You're going to
Mhm.
do like Metallica did and start, all right, we've done the thrash thing. We're going to move into more of a hard rock meets thrash meets, I'd say they're less of a thrash band and more of a hard rock band now. And then you've got other bands that went in a different, completely different direction, or they just stopped doing what they were doing and, they're doing, playing in a jazz band or something like that. Marty
Mhm.
Friedman, he's still doing what he did, but he's not playing Megadeth, it's
Yeah.
so yeah. I think, yeah, like you said, you got to keep innovating and trying to find new stuff. But
Hmm.
I think that happens with everybody, really.
Oh, yeah. No, and I think it's okay to not like the direction that every band takes. Like,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I just don't get where some people like have to just take a shit on the band. It's like,
yeah,
who cares? I mean, if you don't like it, don't listen to it. Done.
yeah.
You know?
It's kind of like I call them like purists or elitists, but yeah, it's like
Yeah.
they did
Yeah,
something that makes them happy and it's making them more money. So,
yeah, yeah. For you, it sucks. That's fine. But
mhm,
yeah, if other people like it, it's cool. That's the
mhm,
beauty of music. We can all find something we love.
absolutely.
Well, Stu, thanks so much for being on Fans with Bands, and really appreciate it. Looking forward to checking out the album on April 7th. I just have one last question for you, and that
Sure
is
thing.
pineapple or no pineapple on pizza?
Pineapple on pizza and on everything.
Awesome. Now, is there a favorite
I
combo toppings that you like to put with the pineapple?
um when I was in college, the cafeteria had a personal pizza station, and my favorite pizza. It's so gross to me thinking back because I ate it all the time. It was just extra cheese and pineapple, like two handfuls of pineapple and like four handfuls of cheese. I couldn't get enough of it. And looking back, I'm like, how did I not like get ulcers and
Right.
acid reflux from all of that? But yeah, no, I've always loved pineapple on pizza. I don't understand why people don't, but
Yeah, it's funny. It can be one of those things where people are like, nope, or yep, divide households, it's crazy.
mhm.
Uh, well, Stu, thanks again for being on Fans with Bands. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Hope we can do this again.
Yeah, cool, man. All right, take it easy.
I'll see you.
Thanks so much to Stu for joining me on this episode of Fans with Bands. I very much enjoyed learning about Stu's band, Pulphonics. They create some unique music that spans genres. Their new album, Art is Money, is coming out on April 7th. Be sure to check that out. See the show notes for all the details and links. These are tough times for everyone in the creative industries such as music. Your support of live streaming, purchasing music, and merchandise is critical. If you can help out your local artists, please do. If you are in the Michigan area, consider following the Playing in the Detroit Area Tonight Facebook page. It is a place for fans and bands to support each other and share our combined love of music. Thank you all so much for listening. Be sure to hit subscribe on your favorite podcast service to get each and every episode of Fans with Bands. Spread the word by rating the show and leaving a comment. We want to hear what you think. You can keep in touch by following us on social media. This is a Life in Michigan production. Until next time, be well and kick out the jams.